Welcome back, and in the studio I'm with former Eskom executive Matshela Koko, who has been telling me very interesting but definitely strange and shocking stories about your experiences at Eskom. And I think after 31 years of being associated with the organization, and as you said, that your blood is blue, meaning that you are Eskom through and through, to be exposed to this and to discover, as you say, in time, that this was going on against you must have shocked you a great deal. What do you think is going on? Actually, who's behind all of those things then? You allege that money was paid to journalists, that certain charges were made up against you and stories peddled, which have damaged your reputation. I wonder how you feel now.
Tim, I don't play the ball, and I'm not a sensational person. I'm an engineer through and through. I'm mentioning this for the first time today. I said to you offline that I even have it recorded.
Yes.
So I will give you the recording.
I'm going to listen to that.
I think it's time to talk. It's time to tell the story. We have the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
Even if when you go to Parliament, to the parliamentary inquiry, and you say, I was implicated by 3 people, Susan Daniels, and we know what happened to Susan Daniels today. He's discredited as ever. We know the story of Abraham Masango. He implicated me in Parliament. We know his stories in Carte Blanche, Kulani as well. I decided to be a gentleman, keep to myself.
When you say Kulani, which Kulani?
Oma.
Okay. Yeah.
I kept to myself because the right time had to come. And I think this is the right time, that people should know what's been happening behind closed doors, that it's not being decent. But you put a brave face. You put a brave face because you've done nothing wrong. When I left my house, my wife was worried and said, Tim is going to throw a curveball on you. I said, you know what? When you know you've not stolen any money from the public, it does not matter what curveball comes your way, you will be able to deal with it. So I am not worried.
The way you tell me the story, it sounds like, from your point of view and the impression you formed, is that there's some grand strategy at play here. If you can explain it to me so I can understand. I hear the different incidents, I hear the different ideas, but why would you be singled out?
Tim, let's a good question. In 1999, I was a corporate specialist for Eskom. A corporate specialist means you are the technical authority in the area of engineering that is assigned to you. I supported my boss then, John Beck, competent engineer of all times, I think, to do, when he was supporting the country to do the integrated resources plan, the IRP of the time. It was done by Eskom all along for the last 78 years. In 2000, we changed the plant life for Eskom, and I did that, from 25 years to 35 years. In 2007, we've changed the plant life of Eskom from 35 to 50, and that's what went into the IRP 2010. In the IRP 2010, the least cost was coal and nuclear. It was not renewable. Renewable was a policy adjustment into the IRP 2010. If we proceeded with IRP 2010 as a least cost plan, we would not have renewables as they have it now. But we are having them because they were policy adjusted. That's why we committed to renewables. In the IRP 2010, we also had the research component to it, which also included underground gasification of coal at Majuba, which I led, my team led that. When we were going to sign the IPPs in June 2015, and Brian just came in, and I was consulted, and I said, but Chief, if you look at what is happening 5 to 10 years, the demand for electricity is not growing. But this technical performance that we have today is nonsense. We should be able to put the steering on the wheel, the hands on the wheel, increase our EAF, and we increased it from 69% to 85%. What that did, it means that the additional capacity that you required had to be slowed down. I wrote an opinion piece on nuclear and says, implement nuclear at the cost and time that the country can afford. We did the same on renewables.
Can we pause for a while? Yes. Okay, I wanted to listen to a lot of detail, but let me deal with that which we are familiar with, and that might be of concern out there, or is of concern out there. One, do you think that there is a strategy against you to remove you from Eskom in the way that you were?
No, I think there's a strategy to unbundle Eskom and ultimately privatize electricity provision through the IPPs. I do not think that's the right thing to do.
But why would you be the...
Because I had the pen. I had to sign the IPPs. You remember the President Zuma, former President Zuma, made a statement in Parliament that Eskom will sign the IPPs. We went to see him. I said, President, it's the wrong thing to do. Not now. And certainly, in my position as a Chief Executive of Eskom, with my fiduciary duties, I will not sign this thing.
Why?
First, because we had surplus. So we don't need additional capacity. We have surplus because our technical performance has improved. So we don't need them. Delay them until you need them. That position, Tim, is vindicated because the draft IRP 2018 says so. It says delay the renewable project by 3 years. It vindicates that position of mine.
Now, let me get your views then. Should South Africa have gone, or Eskom at least, gone nuclear or not? That has been scrapped or delayed as matters stand.
Tim, what is lacking within Eskom and DO is corporate memory. It's corporate memory between Eskom and DO is compromised.
DOE meaning Department of Energy, right?
Department.
Remember, we as outsiders, we don't know how you call these.
And because the corporate memory is compromised, you have people that make decisions as they go. You can't do away without a baseload option in our energy system. You can't. When the sun is not there, when wind is not there, you need baseload. Now, other people say that baseload must be flexible generation, must be gas. I'm saying that's right, but you also need nuclear. So one day in the future, when Matshela is not there, when Tim is not there, when the politics have subsided, we will build nuclear.
Okay. IPPs, you've been very outspoken.
Yes.
I've seen your comments on social media.
Yes.
You seem to, firstly, very, very surprised and actually seemingly disappointed that the government entered into such an agreement. Why is that?
I'm not disappointed. I go further than that the government betrayed Eskom. So the chief operating officer of Eskom on Thursday issued a communique to the staff. He says the cost of renewables is R2.26 per kilowatt hour, but we are selling it for 86 cents. And the 86 cents is a blended tariff and we're recovering it. He also says our energy contribution to the system will reduce from 91% to 88%, and our plant utilization factor is 68%. There's a technical jargon. Simply put, he simply says we are dying. Why would a COO of Eskom say we are dying? You know what I used to say when I was in Eskom, when I refused to sign the IPPs? I says, I'm like a cardinal. There's no cardinal who doesn't believe in the Pope.
But now, let's stay with that for a moment. I mean, the Minister of Energy, Minister Hadebe...
He's still advised. He's still advised. Minister Hadebe has no competent advisors around him. He's making wrong decisions day in, day out.
Is the country going to pay? I mean, is it politics? What is it?
It's politics. No, now here is if you stay within our energy regulation network. When your capacity load factor drops, when your utilization load factor drops because of the onboarding of renewables, your unit cost of electricity increases. And that increase is passed on to the consumer. The consumer can't afford to pay more. You know what he does? He goes and puts solar PVs on his roof. You know what that does? It reduces Eskom sales. So the Eskom problem now becomes that its sales revenue collapses.
But here's the point. I mean, I will come back to the IPPs in a moment.
Yes.
I'm still battling with this, thought in my head. One, the board was removed, new
Yes.
board was installed,
Yes.
a new executive team
Yes.
appointed, right? And I think from the public's point of view, we think it's for the better.
No, it's not. This board is doing the bidding for the IPPs. That's all what is there for. IPPs kills Eskom. This Eskom is going to collapse with this board. Simple. IPPs are collapsing.
Who's going to pay then, you think?
The consumer's going to pay.
That is one. So the consumer is going to pay because of the cost of...
And electricity cost is going to constrain economic development.
But I mean, we think, that the new leadership understands all of
It
those.
doesn't.
Why would it do that?
It doesn't.
And then you throw into the mix the whole thing, as I said at the beginning of the interview, that Eskom is seen to be at the epicenter of state capture. That, that's how it's been positioned. If Eskom was taken to the Zondo Commission so that it probes whether Eskom is at the center of this or not, what would you say? And remember, we also have got Minister Pravin Gordhan who's going to appear before that, and I'm sure he's going to say what he said.
I wish that Eskom makes its submissions to the Zondo Commission. Eskom was never captured in my time. I did my job diligently on the basis of what's good for Eskom. I say to everybody that talks to me, I will never disown the pre-purchase signature that was signed, that went to board in the late evening. I will never disown it because the transaction was the best thing for Eskom, and that is why the coal cost reduced from 17% year on year to 3.5% today. I will never disown it. I went to Parliament. I told Parliament why it was the right thing to do to enter into that transaction. If I'm given if the opportunity arrives and I go to the Zondo Commission, I'll go and tell the Zondo Commission, this is why it was the right thing to do that. I never disowned my signature. I never have amnesia. Where does my signature?
So let's end this here then with this question. You have been there, you've seen it. Now we have all this controversy. It's confusing. It's nuclear. It's IPP. It's this. Where is this going to end, or where are we headed to in terms of Eskom as an entity which must be bailed out or money must be raised for it, and how is it going to perform going forward, given all these, I think I'm correct to call them shenanigans around it?
Tim, there's a guy that I call almost every evening, and we compare notes. And I say to him, the technical governance of Eskom is completely compromised, and that's why you see many major incidents and people dying in Eskom. It shows you there's a wrong focus. 2, Eskom is at the point now where either it dies or it lets the IPPs be slowed down and be implemented at the pace and cost that it can make Eskom survive and result in a lower affordable tariff for the consumer.
You said you will be willing to go to the Zondo Commission to state your case?
I've always cooperated. I cooperate with the police. I've cooperated with the parliamentary inquiry. I'll cooperate with Zondo Commission, or whoever wants me to cooperate within the legal framework of this country.
And you believe we still have lessons to learn along the way?
Oh, certainly.
As a nation?
Oh, certainly.
Matshela Koko, thank you very much for having been my guest.
You are.
I appreciate it. That's the former CEO of Eskom, chief engineer, and as he said, I repeat this, that his blood is blue because he's been with Eskom for 31 years. And that's all we had for you this evening. Thank you for joining the Modise Network. And tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., we will be focusing on education and other matters. From us, good night to you.